And so this council has gone to the Labour architect, if we call him that, because he's associated with Kinnock and the Labour Party, Richard Rogers, Sir Richard now, and you find a typical coming together of the left and the right over this policy. You know, there has to be some symbiotic relationship between public and private. And everybody's talking today about a partnership, and everybody seems to know that the Thatcher era was a great mistake to think that the private marketplace could do it all on its own. Clearly it can't.
Que ce soit dans le monde dit capitaliste ou le monde communiste, il n'y a pas une volonté méchante, mais uniquement l'ambition naturelle à toute organisation de planifier son action.
There were two roads that crossed each other just as you approached Croydon, Wellesley Road and George Street. And that junction had given us considerable difficulties before the war because of congestion. It was decided that the answer to this traffic problem at Wellesley Road was to put in an underpass. Wellesley Road was widened to 124 feet so as to accommodate an underpass, and George Street was widened to 80 feet. The underpass was a great success, and it has continued to be a success ever since.
In the 60s, typically people thought of efficiency first, and efficiency meant get in your car and get somewhere fast, and get out of the car and get into your office at 9 o'clock if you can. So office planners in a restrictive sense and car planners, roadway planners, became the kings of planning design. As a result, the city was really turned into a series of empty spaces which destroy the very heart. What would have been nice in Siena, what would have been an Italian town with, where activity occurs in the center, has been blown apart by the car, by these roadway planners.
Future Systems were asked to look again at Croydon, and one of the problems that were identified was the division of Croydon by this motorway through the centre. How do you get across? If you go underground, there's those terrible smells as you pass below the road. If you go way up into the sky, you get blown off. Can you make an elegant, simple statement where you can walk very easily? Who wants to go up lots of steps? So something which you can pass through with hardly noticing it, sort of a light thread from one side to the other.
What Future Systems, which is this partnership between Jan Kaplitsky and Amanda Levite, have done is to turn a bridge into a memorable sculptural landmark, I suppose, somewhere which actually says this is something to look at, this is something which gives the place a sense of character. It's supported on a technically ingenious tilted pylon which holds up this boomerang-shaped bridge, which I think would make the place.
The width of this street is 30 metres between the pavements, and we've compared it to the Champs-Élysées, Park Lane in London, Fifth Avenue in New York. We've already got a defined avenue by the height of the buildings. There's a very strict linear route, so we already have that feel of an avenue, and all we need to do now is soften that space and make it possible for the people of Croydon to really enjoy it.
The underpass is really carving a hole in the middle of the city. It's the very point where most people congregate, and they put an underpass there. And we use the fact there's an excavation already there to make the new gallery and car park.
Our proposal for the linear art gallery will start up at the roundabout at George Street and will then run the length of Wellesley Road. It's going to be a series of courtyard spaces and gallery spaces. So there's actually a progression through down into recessed courtyards with planting, with sculpture courts, up into a restaurant, through into a picture gallery, out into another courtyard. Roofs can open, they're all glazed with louvers, so some of them might open and slide back, so they become open-air galleries. It's important that we have a variety and a richness to all these spaces.
Everything now must be for people. We've grabbed the land for the offices and the buildings. Let's now make it the place for people.
Vous préférez que je quartiers de la zone nord ou ceux du sud?
Il y a quelle différence?
Traffic was building up far greater than we ever anticipated, and it seemed wrong to take the traffic through the centre of the town, but it was better to have a ring road circling the town. At the same time, there was no through east to west road, and that was dealt with by building the flyover. When we were planning the ring road round Croydon, we arranged that there should be 10 multi-storey car parks situated on this ring. I won't say we were the first to put up a multi-storey car park, but we certainly did put up quite a number.
It's really the theatre of empty spaces, and it becomes worse after 6 o'clock.
Norman Mailer called them empty landscapes of psychosis, as if they bring on, a feeling of great alienation.
One of the problems of Croydon is that at night, because it is largely an office environment in the centre, is that the office environment empties out, it decants, it goes back to the suburbs and leaves Croydon as an empty and dead place. By putting arenas and events on top of the car parks, making these fantastic dromes within which these will take place, and the billboards announcing them and making public spaces and plazas, then a new vitality and life will be brought back into Croydon, which will be there at night also.
There has been a lot of precedent for inflatable structures. They are very cheap to build. They're usually temporary structures. We were attracted to the idea of them because we wanted accommodation on the roof of the car parks, but didn't want to impose any extra load on them. So an inflatable, lightweight structure was very appropriate.
Drummond Drone, where we are now, this will be a huge arena which will accommodate events such as horse jumping and basketball. Over there we have the Wandle Drome, which will be our ice stadia. It will have on the roof an ice rink, and then bridging over the Wandle flyover we'll have a ski run, which will be enclosed and contain real snow and will descend onto a new public fairground space. At the Dingwall Drome car park, we will have a series of participatory sports events. By the Fairfield Hall, we have our Culture Drome, and this will be quite an animated building. It can open up in the summer. The lid flips open and releases a balloon announcing the events, and this can double up the audience.
Les idées sont étranges, Monsieur Caution. Il y a plusieurs années, à l'âge des idées, on les aurait sans doute appelées des idées sublimes.
Actually, if you go to Tokyo, you'll see many of these piggyback buildings. So we know they work. We know they can be very economically vital. And they can really make what is an ugly, necessary structure, the parking lot, into something that's amusing and which is alive during all hours of the day.
The site at the junction of Wellesley Road and George Street was the first one to be developed with Norfolk House. And the plans that were put in for that provided for shops and an office tower, a tower which was 11 stories high, something a bit unusual in Croydon at that time. I made the comment, I would like to see one really high